go on.
Okay, yeah, that's true. We have to keep working. So what else?
Exactly. The show must go on, kind of thing. So, Gabriela, thank you very much. Always a pleasure having you. And of course, look, let me not say too much about the World Cup in Ecuador. They played well. They played well. Look, it can happen. It can go both ways. Every match, because I don't know what the sentiment in Ecuador must have been. I'm sure not. They would not have been happy about it. But let's say that let the best team win, or let the whatever. Let's just let it go, because I know you were so enthusiastic on the last symposium.
Well, it was the Ecuadorian soccer team in the World Cup, so that's the way I was so happy.
Oh, they played well. They played well. They played really well. It's just sometimes it's just one shot.
Happen.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, so thank you very much, Gabriela, for being part of the symposium. The only thing is, what is going to happen is that you're going to tell us about yourself. Then you'll give me 30 seconds to talk about. I don't take anyone's time. I just go quickly to the website. I say go there, find out. Except what's coming up is on 24th we have a discussion on mediators and the war in Ukraine, personal and professional experiences of mediators. On the 8th of March is Women's Day. So please, just women and mediation discussion. It's open. Anyone can come in. Because last year we had about 25 women from some 17 countries, I think 17 or 14 countries. Let's try and expand that this time. It's just experiences in relation to women and mediation. So that's going to come up. So please, Gabriela, about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Gabriela Balseca from Ecuador. I'm a mediator here in Ecuador almost for 12 years. I work actually in Patron dispute resolution, and I'm a mediator in the mediation center of the chambers of commerce here in Quito, and some other mediation centers too. And I actually give classes of conflict management and mediation here in Ecuador too, in different universities and mediation centers. So I'm glad to be here and share my experience with you.
Yes, thank you very much. And I don't know whether I would have to ask people, does Gabriela seem to be someone who will not speak in English? Because she was first symposium, she was saying, I will not be able to speak in English. I want a translator.
Well, I'm improving. I'm working on it. So I'm here.
No, I'm happy that Sebastian gave you that confidence and he did not come there. I think that's a good thing. So what I'm going to be doing right now, I don't know why I put it up, because I just feel that I should give some information. not that anyone reads it, but I have to do my job. So basically mediatorvikram.com, and you find this was a book I contributed to, and a person who doesn't read books is contributing to a book was interesting, but I put down whatever I did during COVID, all the promotion of mediation and all. Of course, connection, everything is here. I physically exist somewhere, so I put my location there. And of course, the World Mediation Circle, support, edutainment, and all that is also. All these various shows are there. I don't know, Gabriela, if you ever managed to watch anything, but there are all these various shows: Evolution of a Mediator, In Conversation with the Beautiful Mind, lectures, talking booth. Mediator experiences. There's a colleague of yours, Jimena. Jimena she's a Weinstein Jams fellow.
Yeah, Jimena Bustamante. Actually, she works with me in Patron dispute resolution. We're partners.
Yeah, because she's a Weinstein Jams fellow. I have to get her this. Yeah, mediator experience. Yeah, mediator experience is a series. It started with conversations with Weinstein Jams fellows. So I should call her there. Mediator reflects.
Yeah, you should call her.
Yeah. Okay. So that's about it. So much whatever. I try to put links out here, like the World Mediators Conference that we had, schedule, YouTube playlist. There's now 500 videos. I can say there are 500 videos. Up till yesterday, I was saying almost 500. Now there are 500. So
that's good.
Enough content to watch.
I told you are doing awesome work, because you are getting together mediators all around the world. So that's amazing.
No, because I really felt that there were so many things which everyone in their countries thinks that only we are facing, but they find out everyone is facing the same thing. Everyone is going through the same issues. Same thing with language, with words. Everyone is dealing with them in a similar way. So I said, let's get them together and all of us to create a community, finally, that World Mediation Circle and all.
Yeah, I like the way to create a community of mediators all around the world. So that's amazing. Thank you for it.
Yeah, but now we have to go forward and we have to go down to schools, communities, and Gabriela, whether she's going to get time or not, I don't know, but I'm going to make sure she gets some time to work on it. But finally, it seems that I'll be the one doing most of the work, but I'll get you.
I know, that's true.
So, Gabriela, language and mediation, all yours. I'm here, but I'm not here.
Okay, I have some, well, I do have some PowerPoint, you know, I like PowerPoint to share.
Yes.
At point I can do that. I'm able to, okay. Actually, Vikram, you didn't tell me if you want to do it in Spanish, English, both.
I'm always happy that we should have something in Spanish also. So if you have time, do the English one. After that, we can record a Spanish
maybe.
One.
Okay, maybe.
But it's really important that the Spanish-speaking world also we connect to, because it's a huge world. It's a huge world. Yeah. But Sebastian has to help. I have to get Sebastian involved in some way, because we have to reach this poor thing. But only thing is, we have to work out an arrangement with him that he gets paid for it. So I'm going to talk to him. I have this in mind. After this symposium, I'm going to talk to him. We have to reach the Spanish-speaking world for sure.
Yeah, I think so. That's the way to expand the mediation all around the world too. So that's going to be a good idea. Okay, so let's start in English. Thank you. As I told you before, Vikram, actually, I love this topic. I think the language, the communication and mediation, they have like this special bond between both. So I think it's really important. Actually, I want to start sharing this picture with you and with the people that are going to watch this video, actually. Why? Because I think that behind the communication, when parties arrive to a mediation process, they have different perspective of the same reality. You know, if you see, for example, this picture, when I showed this picture to my students, say, what you look in this picture? Some people say, okay, I look this boy playing with the cat and they are having fun. But in the other hand, we have many people that doesn't like cats, like I do. So maybe I don't see that the cat gonna be nice with the boy. I think maybe the cat is jumping over the boy, gonna hurt the boy, you know. And when parties, what this about? When the parties arrive to the mediation process, as I told you before, they have like different real perspective of the same reality, but the communication and the language that they use in the mediation process change everything. Well, not just the communication, we have the emotions too, and how the brain works under the conflict. But it's amazing how the parties doesn't know how to use the correct way, the language. They don't use like a clean language, and the conflict arise, you know. And when you are in the mediation process, like a neutral manage the mediation process, you give the chance to the participant of the parties to speak. And the first things that they say is, you know, I wrote down many mails and he answered me like really rude. Oh, I don't like or he never answered me the mail. Or maybe say, you know, I send many texts to the WhatsApp and they leave me, or he leave me unread. And he put these emojis and he was really mad in the way he communicated to me. Or maybe, you know, I called to the other party and he started screaming and yelling to me. So the communications between parties in the mediation process is broke, you know, and we have to start figure out and dealing with that issue because it's true. And I said that there is a straight connection between emotions and communications, because you can figure out how the parties react or how the parties behave and how the parties communicate, because you can see non-verbal communication and verbal communication and emotions. You know, if they're happy, they smile and they have like positive message between them. and they are angry, they start yelling, they use like negative communication between them, and they maybe hurt each other. So I think they have like a straight connection between the emotions, the language, the communication. But actually, I think in the communication world, the use of the clean language, we have like, as mediators, we have this responsibility to, in this video, I want to have the responsibility to talk about the language that the mediators have to use, and the language and the communication between parties, because I think that it's two edges, 2 point of views that we have to work in the communication and the mediation world, you know. As I told you, I think the brain under the conflict, how the parties react, how the amygdala of the brains do this chemical reaction in the human body, and how the emotions express the parties in the mediation process have direct influence with the communication between them. Yeah, is the reason that you can say, well, they are upset, they're screaming each other, the conflict escalate because they use no verbal or verbal communication between them. And you have, as mediator, has to know the technique to manage this aspect in the communication. Actually, there is a mediator from Argentina. She calls Marilena Caram. She's really good. And she has like this video that she talks about the communication and how the mediator have the responsibility to start building like a bridge between them, you know, and restore the communication between the parties. And I think part of the, I don't know, is the éxito, I don't know, like the best way to manage a mediation process is when you help parties to restore the communication and relationship between them. Actually, I know it is depend the kind of mediator you are. If you are facilitative mediation, evaluative, or transformative, I don't know, whatever you want to be or to do. But I think that under the conflict, there are people, you know, and the people need to or want to be here. They need to speak, and they need somebody to help them to restore the communication and the relationship between them. So I think there is this bond between conflict, emotions, and communication between parties. And as I told you, if you go to the theory, to the practice, the real practice is the parties arrive to the mediation process with negativism, with this message, feel of hurt, of sadness, of different emotions between them, you know. And I think that the mediator have to do a really good work to restore all the relationship between them. I put this PowerPoint and I like it because that is the way that the parties behave in the mediation process with the communications, you know. Most, I think, I've been managed plenty mediation cases. And actually, you can see that most of the parties arrive like a sharks, you know, they want to kill each other. They don't have empathy. They don't have assertiveness. And maybe most of the people doesn't know how the mediation works, you know, and they feel like they're threatened. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a risk. I don't going to lose this battle. So I'm going to be more aggressive to the other part in the way that I speak, in the way that I behave. So most of them actually start like acting like a shark. Okay, I'm going to kill you in this mediation process. There are different kind of communicators. Also, you can find the one that doesn't like conflicts. So they act like a rabbit, you know, what is this for? I don't like conflict. I don't like mediation process. I start running for the other side. I would like to be here. And you can see how they express, you know, the word that they use, the way that they see each other. And I think as mediators, I told you before, we have to work on this. We have to empower these parties so they are in the same condition and they can reach a good agreement for both, you know? And on the other hand, actually, we can find some communicators in the mediation process that act like an owl. They observe how the parties react, how the parties communicate, and afterwards they start talking. So it's really interesting how you as a neutral can figure out how the parties communicate in the mediation process. And I told you, just not as a verbal communication, actually no verbal communication is really important. But you can see the way. Actually, is really interesting too, Vikram, because you sometimes have different cross-cultural negotiation in a mediation. So, for example, sometimes I had a mediation with Chinese people, and they don't have Spanish, they don't know Spanish, they don't know maybe English, and with my language and their language, we have to build a bridge to reach an agreement. So it's really interesting. Here in Ecuador, we have indigenous people that go to a mediation process, and most of them speak Quechua and a little bit of Spanish. So actually it's a bias that we have to work with that twin communication process. Actually, the difference like culture or like culture of people can be actually a bias in the communication, and we have to know the strategies to help them to reach an agreement. So there's a big area that we have to work here. Actually, I saw a video at your conference, I guess was yesterday, from Elyse. I'm okay.
Yep.
I love her conference yesterday, and she was talking about actually a lot of the verbal and non-verbal communication. And I agree with her in many things, you know, how the parties react or manage the communication in the mediation process. Another thing that is really important that we have to figure out in the mediation process is how the message that the sender gives to the other parties. You know, it's really different. Me as a neutral tell things to the parties in the mediation process, and maybe I can say the same that the one party say to the other, but the conflict is between them, not with me. So that's really interesting. I can say, you know, outside it's a sunny day, and maybe the parties say, okay, Gabi, so that's nice, it's a sunny day. But maybe the one party say to the other, you know, there is a big sun outside, and the other party will say, no, I don't think so. I don't think, why you say that? I don't think a big sun. Yeah, I think it's raining. You know, because we have the conflict and we have the emotions, and the communication is broken between them. So we have to take care how the parties transmit the message from the sender to the receiver, the tone they use, the word that they use, and actually the nonverbal communication between them, you know, and that's the work that we have to do in the mediation process as mediator. And it's not easy at the first time when they arrive, because most of them, they don't trust of the mediation process, you know, and they arrive like angry, in like, they don't know what I'm here, and I'm gonna get an agreement. I don't know why I'm here with you. And after we start working with the parts in the mediation process, and they start to negotiate each other, we have to teach them how to build a new communication and new bridges between them, you know. Here is the image that I like, that I told you before. As mediators, we have the duty to help parties to build a new communication with empathy, with assertiveness, thinking that they can build again or fix the relationship between them. the commercial relationship between the parties if they start communicate in the correct way, and I think is really important this. Actually, I put this point here too, because I think one of the duties that we have as mediators, as neutrals, is in the communication process, is the art, I think is like ability or to use the correct questions in the mediation process. And actually, I read Gary's book, I think is awesome. I think Gary was in your show, ain't it?
Yeah,
Vikram?
Talking Books. Yeah, Talking Books. We had discussed the book with her.
Yeah, and she's, I kept in touch with her, and she's really nice. And I have the other book that I can recommend, that's El Arte de Hacer Preguntas de Mario Borgonio, that is in Argentina. And in these two books, you actually can find a real, I don't know, you can explore the world, this big world of making questions and the correct questions, and in the specific time of the mediation process, to have the information to the parties to help them to reach an agreement or to restore the communications, the relationships, or the commercial activities between them. So I really think that it's really important, the communication and the use of the correct questions in the mediation process.
But I'm going to ask Gabriela to start using participants instead of parties.
Yeah. Actually, I heard the other day a part of synopsis that you told that you don't believe about parties, you believe about participants. Why?
Because
Tell me why.
Because the thing is, parties has come from the court system. And we don't want any reference to the court system in this. It's a different process. You're all participating in a process where we are trying to work together to reach somewhere. Parties makes it still an adversarial kind of a system. So
yeah, maybe when you parties, you like in a box round or something like that. Yeah. But most of the people use the parties word.
Everyone uses it. I'm trying to change that terminology so that we leave the court system behind. Let's look at it totally differently. So we have to remove those words, Gabriela. We have to remove them.
Okay, we're gonna start doing that.
Yes.
And in the other hand, that I told you that I really like it is the nonverbal communication between parties. Actually, I want to do a course of a neuro-linguistic program. I think will be really helpful for mediators as neutrals, because you can see how the parties react and develop and behave in the mediation process. For the first time, when the parties arrive in a mediation process, and you go out and say, hi, my name is Gabriela, I'm going to be your mediators, you can figure out how your mediation going to be, because you can see the parties are angry. If they shake their hand like really hard and say, okay, I'm going to be in trouble, he's really upset. Maybe they are crying. Some people are crying in the waiting room, and others are really mad. So at the first time, you can as mediator know how you're going to be, or how the process is going to be, and the participants going to develop or behave in the mediation process. So I think the nonverbal communication is really important. And I told you before, when I explained the images with the animals, the same happen with the nonverbal communications, because you can see they use this finger, I don't know how you call it in English, this finger where they speak, so you can figure out that is aggressive communicator, because they move like really hard, the body expressions, the face, the eyes, the fingers, the hands, the voice tone. So you can say, okay, I'm dealing with the aggressive communicator in this mediation process. And you can see also if the other party is sweating, is looking to the feet, to the table. They don't look each other straight. Maybe they're shaking hands, they're shaking the feet, and you can figure out if they feel okay in the mediation process or they feel intimidated. So I think the nonverbal communication is really important in the mediation process. Actually, there is I don't know if you can hear about this Meravian. That is, actually, he's from States. He's a psychologist, and he talked about the theory of Moravian, that he said the no-verbal communication have more influence in the mediation process than the verbal communications. And he has this rule that say 50%, 55% is the body language, facial expressions, 38% is the tone and the pitch of the voice, and just the 7% is the words that we use in the mediation process, and actually I think it's true. I think the nonverbal communication mostly is most important than the verbal communication between parties in the mediation process.
Gabriela, we have to add to this. This is only things that he's been able to put theory to. I keep saying that the other communication which is happening when the connecting to the heart, connecting to the soul, all that energy in the room, all those things, because they don't have words for it, don't have theory for it, is not covered here, but there's lots more which is happening there. But also, let me tell you, Gabriel, there was a session on neuro-linguistic programming and mediation in the World Mediators Conference. Please have a look at that. It's very interesting. There's Joel Lee in Singapore who had done that. Very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I would like to do that. And you know what? I'm agree with you about. We've been talking with you, I think, in the first conference that I gave about the importance of being a good human beings as neutrals to help the parties in conflict in the mediation process. And there is the hard bone that you told me right now, that what I'm telling to you, the really importance, they manage correctly the emotions, the communication with the person, because behind a conflict, there are people, and actually I have this conversation with some friend of mine that he's a mediator here in Ecuador too, about the different type of mediators, facilitative, evaluative, and transformative. And he told me, Gabi, if you are dealing in a commercial aspect, you don't care about their feelings or transforming the relationship between the parties. You are helping the parties to figure out how they deal the issues, and that's all. You don't need to do anything else. And say, sorry, I don't agree with you. I think that behind the conflict, there are human beings. Even if I'm in a commercial dispute, international dispute, a construction dispute, whatever, just not families, because most of the mediators said, the emotion arises just in mediation, in family mediation process, but I don't agree with that. I think the emotion is the very important part of the human beings. We have as neutral the duty to help parties to empower their emotions to reach an agreed agreement or look for a best alternative to a negotiate agreement between them. So I'm agree with you in that part about the heart and be a good human being.
Yeah, so you're going to, Gabriela, you're going to, on that pie chart, you're going to put one full category of communication between human to human.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. It is actually, you see, is this nonverbal communication is really important in the mediation process. Is why actually I don't like too much the ODR, because it's really different how to manage online dispute resolution. Instead, you have the participants in real person with you. The empathy, the assertiveness, this human bond is really difficult to manage in a light dispute solution. That's the reason. Actually, there is another mediator, maybe you know, because you know mediators all around the world, that called Alberto Slavensky. He's actually from Argentina too, and he's working in artificial intelligence and all the stuff, but he has these holograms. I don't know if I'm using the correct way. So he's working to reproduce the body of the participants in a real meeting. So for example, you're in India, I'm here in Ecuador, but the nonverbal communication is really important for the mediation process. So using the holograms, he is trying to reproduce your body in a meeting and my body in a meeting, so I can see how you can react under the conflict and in the mediation process. So it's really interesting.
But let me tell you, Gabriela, Alberto is not very happy with you people because he started something called ODR Latin America. So he started a website called odrla.com, and he said no one came and registered. No one registers on that. So
no, actually, I have I did a course like couple years ago, and I have my number or register of ODR Latino America. So he hasn't to be mad with me.
okay. Sorry, it's not you. He's about other mediators in Latin America. Because I think that's the thing. He wants to do so many good things. It's really nice to hear him. He's been on. We've had some discussions in some shows that this Mediation Vision 2026. I was talking to him, and how many years he spent, and he keeps telling me, what you're doing is something that I have been doing, and I've been talking about all this, but it seems that on the ground, that's why I was telling him about the World Mediation Circle and all. So he said, on the ODR Latin America website, we'll put a link somewhere so we can do something. But only thing is, Spanish is the issue, which is why I said I'll speak to Sebastian that we have to bring in the language part of it, because everything is going to happen in Spanish only, as I've understood.
Yeah, actually, we have to expand. We have to expand like the English community of mediators to the mediators that they speak Spanish in the Latin American countries, because we have like plenty bright minds, here in Latin America, people that speak Spanish. So that we have to work together. So
I'm doing my best. I'm doing my best. Look, we had Susana Monti. She gave her presentation in Spanish yesterday. There is Brenda Vargas. She's come from Mexico. She's coming next week. She's speaking in Spanish. So I'm trying my best to let people speak in Spanish. I mean, language should not be an issue at all. But they themselves sometimes feel that Mary from Argentina, she's coming in tomorrow. She's going to be speaking in Spanish only. So I think, the idea is to get everyone there, but for them to feel that they are not part of an English speaking event. It's anyone speak in whatever language. I have no problem. I'm willing to listen to people. I have no problem.
Yeah, I agree with you, because the communication between the participant, the mediators can be a barrier sometimes, And I remember you told me in the first conference, don't worry, Gabby, about your English. You have to communicate with me, and that's the way the things have to be in the with mediators, But I think Alberto Slavensky is doing a really good job. Actually, he works really hard with Javier Alessioli. He's from Spain, and he's really good too, I do actually, I did my master's degree in mediation and managed conflict in Spain. So with Javier Ales and some others, mediators. So I really like them. But I think the communication has not be a barrier between mediators, because we all have the same responsibility to work in culture of peace, and promote mediation all around the world. So we have a big duty to work on it.
Yeah, I'm sorry I cut you off. Please, I just You spoke
No,
about
I
Alberta.
agree. I love to have conversations. So okay. So I was telling that the nonverbal communication is really important, and that's the reason I thought to. I put in the table the example of Alberto Slavensky and the use of holograms in the mediation process, so you can reproduce your body, my body, in the same room, so I can see how you move, how you react, and your facial expressions and everything is going on in the mediation process, you know. And as I told you before, you know, there is like a different, the importance of communication between parties and the use a correct and clean language is responsibility of the mediators to help the parties and their conflict to change the message, to change the perspective of the mediation process, trying to use the correct word to build bridges to empathy, to assertiveness, fire phrase, and some other techniques that we know as mediators. And we have to keep learning more things to help participants in the mediation process.
Perfect. So now, I mean, of course, if you want to conclude this and you want to move to the Spanish one, you can tell me whenever. Then we'll stop this one and we'll start that whenever you are ready.
Okay, we can. I don't know. As all that I have to share with you in the English version. You know, I don't know if you have any question. We can keep talking. Whatever you told me. I don't know.
No, but I'm telling you, for me, that communication part, what I was talking about, that there is still a lot that hasn't been given words to, and I don't want that to get missed out, because the process otherwise becomes a little too. I am analyzing body movement, I'm analyzing that, but forgetting the fact that I have to connect to this person also, and have to connect at a deeper level. So for me, that is something which should not get left out. I mean, we need to, if you are to put words to it, a lot of those things we won't be able to put words to. So I'm just saying that aspect, I will keep talking about it, Gabriela. I will always keep saying this heart soul spirituality thing, but the theory part of it will not get words for it. How do you look? Just the fact you as a person, what you bring into even the Zoom room, and forget the fact of physical space. What you bring in here is you. There is so much about you that you bring in. It's not about you as something as theory. Okay, I have to smile like this, I have to talk like this. It's just what you are as a package, and that is what you have to bring. And that authentic self that you bring, how you that communicates with the other person, and how that trust develops because you have brought yourself. Because like you were talking about Elyse, I mean, I really like the way the person that she was, a really genuine person that she came into that session. I really like that part. So that's what you have to be, that genuine person.
Yeah, but sometimes it can too hard to identify what real person is arriving to the mediation process, you know, because they have underlying interests behind the positions, and they not all the time show at the first time how they are, you know. They may arrive like a really tough person and really serious because they want to communicate that message to the other party to intimidate, you know, in the mediation process. So I really think that the nice way or the real way is being each one, you know. If I'm happy, I'm like happy. If I'm upset, I'm upset. But they use the participant used different techniques of negotiate. So they sometimes I don't know, they use like different roles in the mediation process. And maybe in the caucuses, you can figure out, you know, you're really nice. Why you acting in this way in the joint meeting? I don't know what's going on with you. And I don't know, I think it's our work to figure out that, I guess.
Because I'm just thinking from the mediator's perspective that sometimes mediators bring layers around them. I think their own layers they have to remove and come as what they are, and then they'll be able to connect. So that communication that has to happen will only happen when you yourself have brought yourself into the into that mediation. All the other things you have to leave a lot of baggage behind and all that. So, Gabriel,
Yeah,
I
and
think
that's really complicated. It's not easy to figure out, and I don't think all kinds of mediator have that ability to do that.
exactly.
It's something about personal brand of the mediators, it's like more our mediators, some mediators are more like how do you say, like rational and more like objective, and other mediators are more like careful, think more like in the participants in the mediation process, to the parts in the process, how they feel, what's going on with them, what about their heart and their emotions in the mediation process. But I think each mediator have their personal brand, and I'm more like a transformative mediation. I like, I say to my students, I feel good, and I feel that I've been doing really good as mediators when, after a mediation process, I can see they start smiling each other again. They start conversation again. They shake their hands and say, okay, let's go have a coffee again. I'm saying, well, I'm doing my best job. I'm doing a great job with the participants in the mediation process, but not all the people think like me. So
No, I think that's really important, because that's the kind of mediation that I want to promote, and that's what, when if you read about the World Mediation Circle and what I've put down in relation to mediation, that's what we're talking about. And I don't want to categorize it into, okay, now this is transformative or this is, let it all flow together. All of them are part of it. Only thing is that the user gets more confused when they hear these words. Between the in the mediation world we talk about these words, but they don't need to be confused. It's just Gabriela the mediator, and the end result. When she does a mediation, people go back happy. That's all. We just need that.
I agree with you. That's all.
That's it.
You can fix the deal, the conflict between them, but it's a human being behind, and we have to, I don't know, maybe we have the duty to make this world better, and people end the conflicts between them and still happy, I don't know. I think like you, Vikram. I don't know if we are
Exactly.
crazy,
No, we are
but
perfect. And the good part is there are more like us. And we have to just bring them together. That's all that I'm trying to do. That's my job. So I think, Gabriela, what we do is we'll conclude this one and we'll start recording that one. Although that'll go out on YouTube. We'll put a little event. Give me 2 minutes, I'll put the event. So, Gabriela, thank you very much. Always a pleasure speaking to you, and you should come in more often to have these discussions. It's always nice. But now I'll take your time for the Ecuador Mediation Circle. That's where our time is going to be spent. We've put enough content. 500 videos is lots for people to watch. Now let's work on the ground. So thank you very much.